Okay, so shalom. So listen, let's get in and out of here, okay? So the title of this message is Nuclear Family. This is part one, right? Guess what? I'm going to get right into this, okay? I'm going to get right into this. I'm not going to waste any time. So first of all, the bulk of this message is going to be about polygamy. Now, one thing I'm not is a hypocrite. One thing I'm not is a hypocrite. None of you out there has ever caught me in any type of hypocrisy. I stand for what I stand for, and that's it. I don't change my agenda. I don't sway. I'm solid as a rock. You all know that. Some of you will say that, well, he promotes polygamy and then he doesn't promote polygamy. That's not true at all. I've never promoted polygamy. Let's get something straight. I don't have anything against polygamy. I'm not changing my mind on anything. If we could get polygamy correct, then I would be an advocate of polygamy. But this world, the entire world, let alone us black folk, we're not going to get that. We're not going to get it right. Now, there are some families in this world who has it right. There are some families that do it right. But for the most part, this society today, it could never accomplish polygamy because we're too immature and we're too sexual of a people. Automatically, if a man is dealing with two women and they both agree to deal with him and they both agree to be faithful to him, he automatically, like a little child, like a little boy, he wants to have the two women involve themselves with one another. That's an abomination. Okay? That family structure is then on its way to hell. You understand what I'm saying? It's just that simple. Also, polygamy is never, ever two men and one woman. That's an absolute atrocity. Multiple men and two women is an atrocity. It's an atrocity to nature. Okay? So in the Bible, husband is plural and wife I apologize. In the Bible, husband is singular and wife is plural. Husband singular, wife plural. Okay? Now, I just want to get that out of the way. The second thing I want to say, okay? I don't want anybody to think highly of me. I am not in a polygamous relationship. Okay? I have my wife, and I don't think she would agree. Could I be in a polygamous relationship? I could. Um, I would say that I have one side that's for it, but my wife would simply not share. Okay? That's a very selfish mentality, but we're not going to get into that right now. And this is not necessarily about having multiple women for sexual purposes. That's the cherry on top, but you have to understand that polygamy, that's not what it's about. Okay? I'm going to give you all a good idea on why polygamy was allowed. Now, you heard what I said. Allowed. Allowed by who? Polygamy was allowed by Christ. Polygamy was allowed by the Most High. Now, a lot of women are angry at me because a lot of women think that I actually promote polygamy. And I want to clear the young lady whom I posted about the she was not promoting polygamy. The young lady was not promoting polygamy. All she was doing was exercising the truth about society. Men are beings at the end of the day. A man's nature, and a man has by nature a polygamous mind frame. That doesn't make him a dog, that doesn't make him a cheater. Now, I want to be honest with you. I tell you all over and over again. Some of you don't believe me. I don't know why. I'm not a wealthy man, not even in the slightest. I'm just a hardworking man. I'm just trying to get some things accomplished. And just like any other man out there, I don't got no rapper money. I don't got no podcast nigga money. Okay? I'm still working a 9 to 5. I'm struggling. I'm in the same boat as most of you men out there. But I am a hustler though. But what I think one of the main things about polygamy, which a lot of you dudes, because a lot of you men out there, you're talking out your ass. You're talking right out your ass. And it makes me sick. Because now, you need to understand something. Polygamy were among the prominent men in the scriptures. Isaiah did not have 2 wives. Jeremiah didn't have 2 wives. Ezekiel didn't have 2 wives. The lowly men like myself in the scriptures, they never had 2 or 3 wives or 1 wife and concubines. A concubine is something lower than a wife, but understand, only the prominent men in the Bible had an additional wife, which really you're only supposed to have. Well, I'm not going to say that, but for the most part, the prominent men. Who were the prominent men? Moses, Abraham, David, Solomon. I want you to understand where I'm going with this now. When polygamy was allowed by the Most High, it was in sovereignty. Okay? Black man, I want you to understand something very important. For many of you brothers out here, and I heard a story about, I don't know if it was true or not, and I want to be careful with my words. The Philadelphia native Beanie Siegel, I heard at one point in time that he had, I don't know if this is true, but somebody said that he had all his ladies in one house, and that is polygamy. But Beans had money. You understand what I'm saying? Beans had bread. If you don't have any money, many of you men out there shouldn't even be considering polygamy. Shouldn't even enter your mind. Not at all. You understand what I'm saying? Polygamy was allowed during sovereignty. What is sovereignty? King David ruled the world. That was sovereignty. King Solomon ruled the world. That was sovereignty. Now, it may not necessarily have been sovereignty for Abraham and for Moses, but they were prominent men, and that polygamy was exercised and it was allowed by Christ for specific reasons. For an example, Abraham, he went into his wife Sarai's handmaid, Hagar. Sarai, you have to remember, agreed that Abraham could do such a thing. Abraham did not go behind Sarai's back and mate with her and have Ishmael. Sarai was fully aware of that because a lot of men think that you can be untrustworthy and that you can be treacherous to the woman that you love and the woman that loves you. Polygamy, true polygamy, is not the act of being treacherous. In other words, you have a woman at home and you're sleeping out with another woman and she doesn't know. Now, I've had this problem, okay? I've had this problem. And I fight and I struggle to this day, okay? Because I would say that if my wife agreed, I could very well much be in a polygamous situation, right? Another thing about polygamy, I need you all to understand very carefully. The women that you are involved with, they have to be faithful. They have to keep their legs closed. It's not polygamy if the woman is having sex with another man outside of the triangle. It's now adultery. The woman has to stay pure to the man. The woman, when she opens up her legs to another pistol, it's now adultery and fornication. It now has become a detestable thing. Why? I'm sorry, it's a double standard. For you women out there who don't like the double standard, hang yourself. Hang yourself because it's a double standard. Now, I'm not saying that if you have a man that he shouldn't be faithful to you, but do understand that it's an abomination for a woman to have more than one partner. You understand that, right? Now, it's also an abomination for a man to have an additional partner that's having, like, for instance, if you have one married couple and that man steps out on that wife, and there's another married couple, and that woman steps out on her husband, and that man and that woman meet, that is an abomination because that woman is married. I want you all to understand where I'm going with this. Our women are to be pure, okay? The Arabs take great pride in this. The Arabs take more pride in this than anyone else. I have to give that to you. And if it's one thing that you brothers and sisters in Islam would learn from the Arabs, that's a very good thing, is the way that the Arabs conduct polygamy. So I'm not here to throw the axe at Muslims tonight. For the true Muslims, the real Muslims that involve themselves in polygamy the correct way, okay? The proper way. Many of you, not all of you, some of you can't get it straight, but some of you can. And I salute you all that can get it right, okay? But you have to understand something. Today's polygamy is a little different from the way it used to be during those days. I'm going to tell you the main reason why. Us black men do not control the dollar. The Caucasian man controls the dollar. I want to explain to you why that's so important. Even if you're a brother like Dame Dash is he's a boss, right? I don't think anybody can disagree with that. But even he's subjected to higher powers. Okay, I hope he doesn't think that he's not. The same thing with Jay-Z. The same thing with uh, even Tyler Perry, uh, black billionaires, Oprah Winfrey. Now, Oprah and Tyler Perry are a little bit different from Dame because They sold out. Oprah and Tyler Perry sold out. They're not muscler, hustlers, bustlers, right? They don't control their own bank account. Dash controls his bank account because it's his money. But even with the sovereignty that he has, still, ultimately, us as a black man, we don't control anything. And many of you brothers and you sisters out there are going to realize that as time continues on. This message is not going to be long, okay? So I just want you all to understand that. The Bible does not specifically say why God allowed polygamy. The Bible doesn't say, well, polygamy. The word polygamy is not even in the Bible. But we must remember that allowance is not the same thing as approval. So does Christ approve of polygamy? Okay? No. Christ doesn't put his stamp on polygamy. Does Christ allow polygamy if done properly? Sure. Polygamy is not a crime. If it's done properly, polygamy is not a crime. But Christ's stamp of approval is not on polygamy. He doesn't say, hey, everybody, every black man, go get 2 or 3 wives. Why? Because many of us brothers are struggling. We can't afford 2 wives. One of the objectives of a man is to be able to support the female. So if there are some men out here struggling to support themselves, how can they support 1 woman, let alone 2 or 3? Some of these brothers out here just get crazy with it. And it's all foolishness because all it's going to do is when you try to jump into it for sexual purposes and I got 2 women and all of these things, then all what's going to happen is fornication and adultery. That's all what's going to happen. That's going to be the final cut from that scenario. Okay? One of the main reasons why us as a people, one of the main reasons why we're in captivity again today, us Israelites, because we are in captivity. We just don't know it. We're among the heathen. And it's dangerous here in America among the heathen. Many of us brothers and sisters, we make it hard for one another. And you have no idea what's about to come to you all here in America. So polygamy shouldn't even be at the top of some of you's lists because judgment is about to fall like water. In today's society of polygamy, the woman should be able to bring in a little bit of paper. I don't care if she's a manager at McDonald's. I don't care if she has a little UPS job, if she's a mail lady, or even if she's just a regular worker at McDonald's. In today's polygamy, unless the man is rich, shout out to you rich brothers. I'm not mad with you rich brothers. Let me tell you men who could successfully take on polygamy from a financial standpoint. A specific football player, a specific basketball player, a specific baseball player, maybe a rapper that's doing well, right? I don't know. I don't know who are some rappers that's doing well. Do I have to mention names? Like just off the top of my head, I don't want to even mention any names, right? And I'm not saying the rapper has to be a rapper like Jay-Z status. He can be a $1, $2, $3 million dude. That's enough to support polygamy, right? But at the end of the day, for an average man, so-called, you know, both of the women, even if they're working part-time, they got to do a little something. Why? Because the times are different, and we're in the end times, and things are about to get really hectic financially in this world. So today's polygamy is not able to be as stable as it would be if we were in sovereignty. Now, I want to move on, right? So let's go to Matthew 5:32. I want you all to understand what is adultery, because some of you in the circumcision, you're very, very arrogant. And when I read this scripture, the first time I ever read this scripture, some of you wives in the circumcision, you got angry. There's no need for you to get angry. The truth is the truth. Now, I'm going to read it. Okay? What is adultery? Well, I've already told you all, but I want you to understand how hard it is to escape adultery today. How hard is it to escape adultery? Because you got all these people talking about follow the commandments, follow the commandments. This is the reason why you better not let hope Moses be your hope. Now, I'm not a hypocrite because you say, well, the law is not thrown away. You tell the homosexuals that the law is not thrown away. You want to throw Moses in their face, but then you want to say that Moses shouldn't be people's hope. That's not contradictory. I'm going to explain what I'm saying here. Because at the end of the day, the law of Moses is not abolished. The law of Moses is still very much valid. It's not void. Let's go to Matthew chapter 5, verse 32. This is Christ talking in red letters. Christ is going to say, but I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife, did you hear that? Christ just said, every man on the planet. Now he's talking to the Israelites, but this goes for every man on the planet. Christ says that every man on the planet, if he divorces his wife, listen very carefully, listen, except on the ground of sexual immorality. So if you divorce your wife, you really are not allowed to divorce your wife unless she commits adultery. When she opens her legs, it's over for her. It's over. There is no second chances. Some of you men, you are allowed to forgive her if that's your choice. Me personally, no, no, no. But you are allowed to do that if you want to do that. I'm not going to call people names like simps and stuff like that. Let me stop. If you don't mind, let me stop for a minute. I'm going to give you a perfect example of forgiving your wife. Now, I've never been in this situation, so I don't know what I would do. That incident that happened between the 5 police officers beating that young man to death. Now, if I have the story incorrect, because I didn't speak about this, but if I don't have the story correct, then I apologize. I'm sorry. But basically, from what I was hearing, because I didn't even really double check, that one of the officers, it was a personal situation because the young man that they beat to death was having sex with one of the officers' children's mother. I don't know if they were married. Let me just say children's mother. But the situation was allegedly, I hope I don't have the story wrong. Allegedly, the young lady had 4 children by the police officer, and a 5th child was had. The police officer thought that it was his child, and it ended up to be the other young man's child. So that's an awful situation. Many of you have not been in that situation, and neither have I. I'm sure that's an awful, awful situation because now you have this man and woman, and I'm not taking sides either way around. because I don't know what happened. But you have this man and this woman whom have invested 4 children together. And I don't know how many years, how much time together. And he finds out that the fifth child's not his. And it can only, well, it's adultery either way. Whether they're married or not, it's adultery. But it can only be an affair, quote unquote. That's the white man's take. The white man calls it an affair. But we know that that's foolishness. It's called adultery. But at the end of the day, I'm sure letting go of a woman that you have 4 children with, I'm sure letting that go is probably complicated. It's probably a hard thing to do. So if he's telling this young man, listen, this is my wife, leave her alone. But then you have to also understand that the woman, she was the one that was spreading her legs voluntarily, probably going to meet the young boy, doing whatever, passing off to the young boy, having the young boy inside of her, defiling her womb, making her an abominable thing, and defiling the marriage bed between her and the boy. And some of you say, well, the cop did this, the cop did that. Well, I don't know. But the cop wasn't so bad because she had 4 children with him. So I'm sorry if I have that story wrong. I'm sorry. But let me keep moving. So, how hard is it to avoid adultery today? Christ said, but I say to every man who divorces his wife, unless she commits adultery, because if she is sexually immoral, then she has already committed the adultery. So that's the only way you can drop her. But he says, every man that divorces his wife, unless she does that, makes his wife commit adultery. So if I were to divorce my wife today, I am I am being blamed. Christ says that I'm the problem because I'm making my wife commit adultery because I'm putting her away. So all over the world, whenever a man decides to divorce his wife, but here's the trick. How many men really divorce their wives unless they commit adultery? It's very rare. 80% of all relationships, women leave. Don't y'all know that? Women leave 80 to 85%. Now, in some cases, it's justifiable. If you just can't stand them, then hey, listen, that's your prerogative. And if you don't think the person is fair, if you think the person is evil, if you think the person just can't get it together in certain areas or whatever the case may be, that's you all's prerogative out there. If you're not married, then, you know, I'm not getting involved in none of that. In some cases, some people just, you gotta let some people go and go on with the get down. But for the most part, it says it right here. So all divorced women are being made to commit adultery. So how hard is it now to avoid adultery? Because it says, and whoever marries the divorced woman commits adultery. So if I divorce my wife, whatever man has sex with her commits adultery. How are you going to avoid it? And a lot of women in the circumcision, they hate that because they were mad because they weren't virgins when they got married. So they get upset. Now, It doesn't mean that you're an adulteress. It just means that when that happened, that was adultery. That's all. You ain't got to get mad. Take it on the chin and keep it moving and be a good wife. That's all. Okay? So, a lot of people out there also, a lot of Bible thumpers, they want to make a big case that in the beginning, it was only Eve. So people are saying, well, polygamy, there's some Bible thumpers that are completely against polygamy. They think that polygamy is immoral. Well, you're false. That's wrong. It's not immoral if it's done properly. We don't want to get into Adam and Eve because even though Adam and Eve were not polygamous, Eve still did some abominable things. Eve defiled the marriage bed with the serpent. And then she went and defiled it again with her own son, the son of the serpent, the son of the devil. Eve was a piece of trash. You understand what I'm telling you all? So, how wicked was it what Eve did? Let's go to 1 Corinthians 5 and 1. 1 Corinthians 5 and 1. It is actually reported. This is Paul talking. What's going on here is Paul is going to the assembly of the Corinthians. Paul goes to the assembly of the Corinthians, and he is dealing with a problem that's happening inside the assembly. So Paul is going into the assembly, and he says, it is actually reported that there is sexual immorality among you, among this congregation, and of a kind that is not tolerated even among pagans. For a man has his father's wife. That type of crime is not even tolerated among the Caucasians, the other nations, as vile and evil as the white man is. This type of thing, a man and his father's wife, this type of thing is even detestable among the synagogue of Satan. So you got to remember, Cain was not Adam's son. That was a very wicked thing that Eve did. Very wicked. And that was a very wicked thing that Cain did because it took two to tangle. But Cain manipulated Eve a lot. Eve was a very gullible woman. Gentlemen, if you're getting to know a woman and you're courting a woman, this is the number one thing to look out for. Make sure she's not a gullible heifer. Make sure she's not dipping. Falling for everything. I know a lot of you men. Now, if you want to just pop it, which I don't suggest, because that's what we want to stop doing. We want to stop that cycle. But I'm not going to get involved in that because I'm not perfect enough to deal with that area. However, if you are looking for something long-term with a young lady, make sure that she's not gullible. That's so important. I despise a gullible woman. She should not be gullible until she completely trusts you. Then that's when her gullibility should kick in. Now, my wife, you know, now that things are running smoothly, she can be just sometimes as gullible and dippy, but that's with me. She's not allowed to be like that with anybody else. So, for those of you Bible thumpers who think that polygamy is immoral, even some of you in the circumcision, even some of you of the Old Testament, you say, one man and one woman is the way it's supposed to be. Well, I'm not going to argue yay or nay, but I want to destroy your point. Because even though many of you say it should be like in the beginning, when we go to Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1, it destroys everything, because not only is Christ going to allow, but he's also going to approve of polygamy in the kingdom. Because in that day, which is the return of Christ, when we all are going to be in the kingdom, those of us who will make it to the kingdom, and that day, there will be women that's going to take hold of one man. Hey, don't worry, I buy my own food, I buy my own clothes, I provide for myself. Just take away my reproach, take away my disgrace. 7 women, and that 7 is not a solid number. 5 women may go after this man. It's going to be like, what man will take me in the kingdom? Because Christ is not going to tolerate any of you women that make it to the kingdom. He's not going to tolerate you being unmarried. There's going to be order in the kingdom of God. You understand that? You're not going to be walking around singing F nigga free. You're not going to be walking around talking about my WAP or talking about, what you do to how many Negroes you're messing around with. You're not going to be able to walk around the kingdom and talk none of that stuff. You're going to be put to death. I'm telling you this right now. There, you women in the kingdom, you will be under sovereignty, and you will do as you are commanded to do. You understand what I'm telling you all? I'm not trying to make anybody mad. I'm telling you that Christ is going to rule with an iron fist. Many of you think that this is so far-fetched. Heaven will never happen. Heaven on earth will never happen. Well, aren't we living in hell on earth? Hell on earth is happening. So why won't there be a heaven on earth? Understand me? Now, let me read that same scripture, Isaiah 4:1, from the Amplified Bible. And in that day, 7 women will take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own food and wear and provide our own clothes. Only let us be called by your name. Take away our shame of being unmarried. That's from the Amplified Bible. Take away our shame for having no husband. I don't care about none of your material items. I don't care about how much you work out. I don't care about who you think you are. You understand what I'm telling you? I don't give a damn who you think you are and what pedestal you want to put your little funky ass self on. You can put your little funky ass on any type of pedestal you want to. And at the end of the day, but I give many of you women out there credit. There are some of you, even some of you that I monitor, you want to be a wife. And that's a good thing. And I salute you for that. So if you want to be a wife, I'm not going to come at you sideways because you do want to be a wife. But let me tell many of you women out there something that want to be a wife. Who are you to think that the type of man of the pedestal that you want him to be on, what makes you think you're going to be his? Who are you to demand that you are his only woman? Who are you to demand that? You get one of them NFL players, one of them pretty NFL player guys, all types of muscles, superstar, got a lot of money. Huh? What makes you think you are going to be his only man, his only woman? Huh? Tell me. You understand what I'm saying? So you get one of them fancy businessmen, Wall Street fancy businessmen on Wall Street. He got the $6,000, $7,000 suit on, right? Big with the stocks and the bonds, right? Driving around in Mercedes, long base, and all of these things, right? And you, and you, and you, even if you the shit, even if you are the SHIT, just because you're the SHIT doesn't mean that you're the only woman on the planet that's the SHIT. There's a multitude of women on this planet that are the SHIT. You understand what I'm saying to you? Now there's like 4 to 5 women, black women. It's not so with the Caucasian race. Do you know that the Caucasian race, their men is almost the same amount as their women? Did you know that? Did you know with the Arab race, their men is almost the same amount as their women? Did you know with the Chinese race, and there are billions of them niggas, the Chinese and even the Indian race, those not Indian, but those of India, those who worship the god with all the arms, right? Even they're about a billion race too. They're worth about a 1.2, 1.3. Over there in India is about 1.234 billion. Even their population, their men is almost the amount as their women. Us niggas are the only men that are in this situation. You black women are the only women that are in this situation. Don't you understand that the numbers simply don't add up? It's just that simple. There's no way around this. The numbers don't add. The numbers just don't add up. That's it. That's the math equation right there. That's the ultimate $1,000,000 math equation. However you want to look at it, the numbers don't add up. Niggas killing niggas. Okay, that's one of the main reasons. One nigga get killed, another nigga go to jail. 2 niggas down. Don't let it be a multiple situation. 2, 3 niggas get killed. 2, 3 niggas go to jail. Police. Ku Klux Klan catch a nigga. But see, what's going to happen is we're really the ones that are doing most of the killing of our own people right now. But when we go into our trials and tribulations as a nation, that's when we're going to start having problems with the other nations. I'm making this message because now ultimately this message is about the nuclear family. That's why I'm going to bring a second part. But I wanted to speak about this polygamy thing because a lot of you foolish men are going crazy about this polygamy thing. The reason why the Most High called us children in the wilderness is because we're adults with a child mindset. Oh, polygamy, 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 yay, polygamy, yay, polygamy, yay. You don't know a thing or two about polygamy, nor do you understand the true concept of polygamy. The sex is the cherry on the top. It's added. It's not the foundation of polygamy. It's not the foundation at all. A man can be in a situation, he can love his wife, and he can have another woman in love with him. So much so that she's not even dealing with another man. She knows he's married, she knows he's with somebody, but at least she gets credit for only opening her legs to him at the end of the day. Now, in a lot of cases, it doesn't work out for the poor young lady because the man knows his wife isn't going to have it, and the young lady ends up heartbroken in some cases. At some point, the man will have to say, not continuing to make love to the young lady, but at some point, he's going to have to address this to his wife. Hey, listen, I'm not dealing with her now. I've dealt with her before. What do you think about polygamy? Now, a selfish wife will automatically, right from the door, disagree till you get out of her face. You might have to, not so you can have 2 or 3 women, no, but because you have good intentions. And many of you may not agree with what I just said, but you have to understand that treachery is a big part of adultery. Treachery, meaning being traitorous, being underhanded, being sneaky, not being stand up, not being honest. That has a lot to do with fornication and adultery today. Some of you cats out there never know. Your old lady just might want to sit down and talk about it. Many of you women out there, you hold your husbands with a grip tight. And if y'all find out that the man's slipping up out there, now I'm not talking about no whoremonger dude. I'm not talking about some dude that's running around here putting his pistol on anything. That's cornball shit. That's abominable because that's an abomination, that's messy, and that's nasty. Because all the women that you out there putting your pistol in, they having sex with other men. So now you just have a mess. You have a mess. You have no honor because you just putting your pistol in everything. That's dishonorable. But triangles happen. Situations happen when you meet people. They happen. Some of them get rectified. A few of them may even go to that next level and are being handled properly. At the end of the day, you'll have 2 women fighting, punching their heads off, when really they can just talk about it. If it's going to happen anyway out here in our society, because there are 5 to 6 black women to 1 black man, if it's going to happen anyway, it might as well happen with a sit down as opposed to a fight, as opposed to hatred. See, those of you in the circumcision, you can say what you want to say. Understand what I'm saying here. I'm not promoting anything. What I'm saying is, you circumcision, you want to point your finger all the time. Some of you think you're so perfect, and all you want to do is talk about all the adultery that's going on amongst black folks. Do many of you want to know why the adultery level is so high among black folks? Because you have 5 black women and 1 nigga running around to these 5 black women. You have women, good women out here who want to be wives, who are willing to take second and third positions and be in their place. They just want somebody who's sturdy, shift the guts every now and then, be taken out on the town every now and then, and be in a situation that's helpful, that's beneficial, not only financially, but in terms of companionship. So you circumcision, you can say whatever you want to say. You can talk about adultery and fornication all you want to. You can go back into the Old Testament and say how much Christ destroyed everybody for fornication. One of your favorite scriptures, how he opened the ground up to niggas and swallowed them up whole for fornication, 30,000. Well, what if he decided to do the same thing today as he did back then? None of us would be living. Technically, neither you or your wife, because your wife wasn't a virgin when y'all had sex. Stop, keep judging situations and understand that Christ had to come and give every one of us niggas mercy. All of us. How are you not going to have fornication when you have 5 black women to 1 black? How is it not going to happen? How? How? No, I'm not trying to justify anything. And no, I'm not trying to cover my own dirt because I'm not doing the dirt in that sense. I'm fighting. Yeah, I said it. I'm fighting it. I love my wife. Wouldn't lose my wife for anything. I wouldn't trade her in for anybody. But you all want to keep throwing the hammer. Don't you understand? Your status is no greater than mine. Many of you in the circumcision. And your status, believe it or not, is no greater than even some of these men out here that may be rappers, comedians. You have no idea of the hearts of men, many of you in the circumcision. There are men out here that have good hearts, and they're not in the circumcision at all. Stand up men with integrity. The Most High chooses, he judges the heart of an individual, not whether or whether not they are in the circumcision, not whether or whether not they wear fringes and a long robe and head wraps and kimars. That's not how you're judged. You're judged according to this, your mind and soul. You are judged according to your character. Now, don't get me wrong. You can't be a whoremonger. We understand this. If you are a whoremonger, you better repent. Repent, because judgment is coming. Because when you want to place your pistol everywhere, those women are not faithful women. They sluts. They're thoughts. You don't want to place your pistol in a thought. No. That's dangerous. That's spiritually dangerous, and that's physically dangerous. Leave thoughts alone. Let the thoughts and the sluts cry a effing river. Let them cry a river. We should only be aiming for the women who want to be wives. Oh, let's stop the fornication. You better stop fornicating. You who are in your robe, who is a slanderer, who is probably a child of the devil, and you want to tell somebody about anything? If you are a man but you can't be a sucker now. You got to know that your wife is faithful, and you got to know that the heifer that you knocking off on the side is faithful. You can't be no gimp thinking that both of them is faithful to you, and neither one of them are, or only your wife and not this other chick. Many of you men out there, you have two or three women. You got to cut off the ones who are not faithful and deal with the ones who are faithful. See, a slut will never appreciate a man because she's had too many. How can a woman with 100,000 miles on her odometer appreciate any of the miles that she's already passed? She's been through so many. She doesn't care. Only women with low mileage can appreciate a man. Some of you women, you've had so many pistols in you, you can't even think straight. So, what is one of the reasons why polygamy was allowed by the Most High? Black men, men of Israel, have always been in danger. A black man has always been an endangered species, especially men that do what I do. Exodus chapter 1, verse 15. Exodus chapter 1, verse 15. Then the king of Egypt told the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah, when you help the Hebrew women in childbirth, look at the child when you deliver it. If it's a boy, kill it. But if it's a girl, let it live. So when our ancestors were in slavery during the time of Egypt, you all know about when we all were slaves in Egypt, right? The Pharaoh told the Egyptian midwives, when the Negro woman has a child, look at the child. If it's a boy, kill it. If it's a girl, let it live. I can do bad all by myself. I'm tough. Well, if you women were such a threat, why is it to kill the male and to keep you all alive? Why? Because you all are only going to be subject to slavery. You're not going to do anything. You women, you're not going to do anything but be a slave. That's it. I don't care who you think you. Now I know there's some tough women, especially here in Philadelphia. Some of these women to put you in your back pockets. I understand that. But at the end of the day, you're still going to be a slave. You're still a casualty of war, no matter how tough you are. That's just the truth. Now, hallelujah, the Egyptian midwives feared Yahuwah and they didn't kill the young men. If you want to read the story, you can go ahead and read the story, but they actually didn't do it, hallelujah, because the Egyptian women feared our God. It actually says it here in verse 17. However, the midwives feared Elohim and didn't obey the king of Egypt's orders. They let the boys live. So the king of Egypt called for the midwives. He asked them, "Why have you done this? Why have you let the boys live?" But nonetheless, alligator bait during slavery. The majority of the Negro babies, well, not the majority of the Negro babies, but certain of the young men that were born in slavery were baited to the alligators. In fact, that term alligator bait, let me see if I have it here. It says here, African American children were alligator bait. No, African American children were known as alligator bait, and this was a common trope in American popular culture during and immediately after the period of American slavery. The motive was present in a wide array of media, including newspaper reports, songs, sheet music, and visual art. So that term was actually used widespread as a mockery to Negroes. Some evil, wicked white people would look at a Negro and call him or her alligator bait because that's what they used to do, especially with a lot of the young black men when they were younger. Some of the wicked slave masters would look at the private parts of the young male and say, "Oh, we ain't bringing this nigga up. Throw that nigga to the alligators. He ain't gonna fuck my wife." Or even so more, some of them would just look at the body, even though they were a baby, and if the baby appeared strong in any nature, that baby would be alligator bait, would kill him. Even some of the young women were alligator bait, but mainly it was the young men. You understand what I'm saying? So when we go to this, these are reasons why polygamy. Y'all like, what does that have to do with polygamy? Because us black men were always scarce. We were always scarce. Our women, because you women are not threats, you black women are beautiful. And the slave masters had hella sex with y'all. Y'all know that, right? You black women were heavily, heavily, heavily taken by the slave masters. You have no idea. That slave master would come out in that field and see your black fat ass walking across that cotton field. And if he wanted a specific woman that was married, he would kill the husband, or he would get the husband buck broken in front of the wife. He would have the man raped in front of his own wife so that she can look down on him and have no hope and have no trust in him and have no glory in her husband. And her husband is the glory of Christ. Her husband is the glory of the Creator. But if that white man wanted your fat black ass that much, that's what he would do. You black women are extremely attractive. And a lot of the white women got a lot of you black women whipped and killed because her husband, the slave master, could not get enough of your black ass. That tidal wave that y'all got going from the back, that white man couldn't handle that. He loved it. It was something different because his wife wasn't built like that. The thick thighs and the ankles and the calves, that white man couldn't resist it. And if you were married, or if you're one of our women ancestors was married, and that white boy wanted that PUSSI that badly, he'll either take you in front of the husband, give the husband lashes, or getting buck raped. Either of the or. And I'm gonna tell you something. If you got raped in front of your husband, in many cases, it's a very, very powerful psychological effect. You looking at your husband and he's hopeless. He can do nothing for you. And a lot of men wouldn't even attempt. They would just watch. How you gonna be a man? Some of the black men broke out in tears while they watched their wives being taken right before their eyes. But let me ask you all something. Do you know that these days are coming back? I would rather my wife see me die protecting her than to go out like that. She would see me die. The point that I'm making is that black men have always been scarce. Our women have always outnumbered us. Always. Here's another reason why you women have always outnumbered us, and the reason why Christ allowed polygamy. Deuteronomy chapter 3. Deuteronomy chapter 3, verses 18 and 19. Deuteronomy chapter 3, verses 18 and 19. And I commanded you at that time, saying, Yahuwah, your power, hath given you this land to possess it. Ye shall pass over armed before your brethren and children of Israel, all that are meet for war, but your wives and your little ones and your cattle, for I know that you have much cattle, shall abide in your cities, which I have given to you. What did Christ just say? You niggas, you're going to war, but your wives and your children and your cattle will remain in the cities until you return. So how many niggas returned from war back to their families? They would leave out 1,000,000 strong and come back 150,000 strong. That's 85%. That's the reason why in the Civil War, if you go and watch a movie called Glory, it'll show you. Glory was a wild movie. But even during the times of war and battle, when we were on the patrol, when we were on the same platoon with the white man, the white man would put all the niggas up front so the niggas can die first. Us black men, have always been scarce We have always been scarce. And now the Ku Klux Klan is sitting up there and they're saying those niggas they hate one another. They hate one another. Weak niggas hate their own people. If you a nigga and you hate another nigga, you a weak ass nigga. And you are really no good if you hate your own people. Fuck you if you hate your own people. You ain't worth shit. One of the problems with our people is that we despise one another. And this is the breaking of the commandments. 1,000,000 strong soldiers would go out of Israel, and only 15% would return from war. You know how many bastards and widows were left? Do you have any idea? Now, I want to go to 1 Timothy chapter 3 because I want the camps to understand something. 1 Timothy chapter 3. One Timothy chapter 3. One Timothy chapter 3. This is a true saying. This is Paul talking. I want y'all to listen very carefully. Paul says, this is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach, not given to wine, nor striker, nor greedy of filthy lucre, nor greedy of filthy lucre, nor greedy of filthy lucre. Be patient, not a brawler, not covetous. So the point here I wanted to make is it says that a bishop must be the husband of one wife. Now, likewise, the deacons. They must not be double-tongued. Pretty much the same thing with the deacons. Even so must their wives be grave, not slanderers, sober, faithful in all things. Let the deacons be husbands of one wife. So, first of all, we really need to get something straight with Paul. Because you all know that I don't admire anybody, but Paul is that ball. And you've heard me say it time and time before. Paul is that ball. But Paul is not the law of Moses. Paul is giving advice here. Is it educational advice based on the Torah? Sure. But it's exhortation. At the end of the day, it's advice. This is not the law of Moses. Paul is not the law. Now, why is it, however, wise if you are the head of a congregation? Why is it wise that you have one wife? Because it looks clean, it looks presentable. It doesn't look, if you had more than one wife and you were the leader of a congregation, it kind of looks messy. It kind of looks as if you're pimping. You understand what I'm saying? First of all, you have to understand it's more to it than just looks. Do you know, many of you, some of you out there, you're single. But nonetheless, most men out there, you know how complicated it is having one woman? One woman. Having one woman is a hard task. And I'm not saying a hard task like, you trying all your might and all that. But what I'm saying is one woman is enough. One woman will put you in the stress house, give you a heart attack and stroke. Two women and you run a congregation? See, Paul's advice is because you're running a congregation. In some cases, congregations of thousands of people. How you going to oversee 1,000 people, 2, 3, 4,000 people, and have 2 or 3 wives? You will reach an early grave very fast. So see, Paul is intelligent because he knows that if you run a large group of people, that one wife, you have to keep her in her place in order to even be qualified to run the congregation. So you're going to keep 2, 3 niggerettes in their place while you try to run a congregation? What if one of them cheat on you in front of the whole congregation? I'm just saying, not only she cheat on you, how about with one of your deacons? How about with somebody that's right below you? Or how about with your co-equal? If there are 2 or 3 preachers, 2 or 3 bishops, or 2 or 3 deacons, how about you're one of the deacons or bishops and one of your wives is banging one of your deacons? I'm just saying. Oh, that's very possible. We know that. We see it in the church all the time. Women, a lot of these women out here can't keep their legs. Now, do I advocate the little rose? I don't advocate it because what they call it uh, masturbation, right? We've all done that before. We've all masturbated before. You know, men and women alike. We've all done it before. Do I advocate it? I don't advocate it. But is it better than you running out there and spreading open to somebody? He don't look at you long term, and you might not look at him long term. But what Paul is saying for us men, when if we're in power, and I'm not in power, but there are some of you out there who run churches, run camps, run organizations. You can't have 2 or 3 women and all of that responsibility. It's a very, very, very early grade. Amongst that, before you die, you're going to have other problems. That's just how it's going to happen. So that's the reason why Paul is advising this. It's first of all, foremost, you're not going to be able to focus on Elohim properly. You're just not going to be able to do it. That's number one. And then number two, it's just a very messy looking situation to the congregation. But that doesn't mean that there are average men whom are not running congregations. That doesn't mean that they are disallowed to engage or partake in polygamy. Paul is not dismissing polygamy done properly. He's not. He can't. How can Paul dismiss it if Christ doesn't dismiss it? Paul can't dismiss it if Christ doesn't dismiss it. Let's move on. I got a little surprise for the LGBTQRZ. Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. Testing, 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 testing. Bang, bang, bang. That's weird because it should be. Testing, 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 testing. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Okay. So I don't know why that's not playing down there, but. All right. So let's get this finished, right? So Paul is not. Let's go to Romans chapter 3. Let's go to Romans chapter 3. We're going to go to verse 30 and 31. Romans chapter 3, verse 30 and 31. Seeing it is one God, which shall justify the circumcision by faith, and uncircumcision through faith. Do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid. We establish the law. Paul is only a man. Paul cannot, does not, and has never attempted to try to annul, decrease, or nullify the law of Moses. Paul is just giving advice that if you are somebody in control of a lot of people, you should only have one heifer because two of them are going to kill you. And if you have more than two, it is very likely that one of them will shame you. There are just so many issues going on with that. Have one wife if you're controlling a large group or if you're a head of a large group of people. Okay? Now, can prophets have more than one wife? Can a prophet? Now, I would be considered a prophet. I'm not a deacon or a bishop, which those names are foolishness anyway, for real, for real. But I'm not a head of an organization, and I don't want to be. I don't care. I don't want to be. I just want to give the truth. Am I allowed? Allowed. I'm not saying that Christ is putting his stamp of approval on me having multiple women, but am I allowed? If I had the bread and if I could do it properly, sure. Sure. Now, is it wise for me to have more than one woman? Because you have to understand, I would have to take care of them both. Not only that, they both would have to respect me equally. I can't teach a ministry with them being out of line. And more so over, well, I lost my train of thought there. But it's just not an intelligent, I would have to concentrate on my ministry. Having two women, it's hard to concentrate on your ministry when you have two women. It's bad enough I got enough going on. Mother, aunt, daughter, sons, one wife, job, side hustle, this, that. Now, a second woman? Moreover, this ministry? I barely get to do this ministry the way I want to do it. I don't teach this. I don't get an opportunity to teach as much as I want to teach. I don't. Moses was a prophet. Moses had a wife and 3 concubines. Moses was allowed to do that for specific reasons in prophecy, and it just did not go against the law. It's not contrary to the law. A husband is singular and a wife is plural. We are not promoting polygamy tonight. This evening, we're not promoting polygamy. Paul understood the times changed, and our people had lost track of our customs. The Israelites sinned against Yahuwah, their Elohim, who brought them out of the land of Egypt and rescued them. Who rescued them from the power of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. They worshipped other gods and lived by the customs of the nations that Yahuwah had forced out of the Israelites. The other nations that Christ forced out of our way, we learned their customs. Our ancestors also did what the kings of those other nations said to do. So we're out of our customs. It was our custom because us as a men have always been decreased. We've never, ever, ever, there was never the same amount of Israelite men as Israelite women. Never enough niggas for our niggerettes. So we have faithful trustworthy black women out there who only want black men. They don't want a white man. They don't want an Arab man. They certainly don't want a China man. They don't want a Japanese man. They want a black man. But they, in many cases, they've been told that they cannot have one because he's married. And Paul advises that every man have his own wife, and every wife have her own man, have her own husband. So a lot of our women are going to be left out in the cold. But there are certain circumstances that can work. And there are certain families that are doing it properly and that are doing it well. Are you going to have problems within a polygamous family? You have problems within a monogamous family. You have problems among a nuclear household. So you know you're going to have problems among a polygamous household. But before the man and his wife were to take on an addition to their house, they are to court her just the way they courted each other. So if it took 1 or 2 years for me and my wife, then it would be the same for us to bring in an addition, not an addition for the two women to get into some old lesbian shit and take us all to hell. Because sex is not the foundation of polygamy. It never has been. There are many other benefits that come along with polygamy opposed to sex. Sex is good. It is an addition, but it's not the primary focus. It shouldn't be, because if it's the primary focus, it will fail. I got a treat. I'm done this message. I said an hour and a half. But I want to give a little treat to the homosexuals, the LGBTQ. I want to give you all a little treat. I want you all to understand something. Let's go to the New Testament. Let's go to Luke. Let's go to chapter 3. This is a message to the LGBTQ, you homosexuals. Mainly, I'm speaking to you men. I want you to listen very carefully. Aside the fact that if you don't repent, you're destined for hellfire. Destined. I don't care how much Christ you believe in. If you don't turn from your wicked ways, you will be destroyed. If you a healthy gay nigga, if you are in the best shape possible, you're going to live for 120 years. 120 years is nothing compared to eternity. Nothing compared to eternity. Eternal damnation is your fate if you do not deny your flesh and walk with Christ. I'm warning you. But here is your greatest offense. Well, that's your offense. But here is the biggest problem with your offense. Let's go to Luke chapter 3. We're going to start off at verse 23. I hope you gay men and you lesbian women, I hope y'all listen. I'm really talking to the black people. I don't care what the rest of the nations do. Luke chapter 3, verse 23. And Jesus himself, Yahusha himself, began to be about 30 years of age, being, as was supposed, the son of Joseph, which is the son of Heli, which was the son of Matthew, which was the son of Levi, which was the son of Machai, which was the son of Janna, which was the son of Joseph, which was the son of Matthias, which was the son of Amos, which was the son of Nahum, which was the son of Eli, which was the son of Negay, which was the son of Math, which was the son of Matthias, which was the son of Samai, which was the son of Joseph, which was the son of Judah, which was the son of Joanna, which was the son of Risa, which was the son of Zerubbabel, which was the son of Salithia, which was the son of Neri, which was the son of Machi, which was the son of Adi, which was the son of Kasam, which was the son of y'all get where I'm going with this? Y'all want to keep reading? Which was the son of Elmadam, which was the son of Ir, which was the son of Joseph, which was the son of Elisa, all the way to fucking Adam. You gay men and you lesbian women are here today because of reproduction. You're alive. Give thanks to your creator for your life because of reproduction. You are doing a great disgrace to humanity because with you, there's no reproduction. You can say, well, I know all types of wicked things are going to go through your mind. You'll take your sperm to a sperm bank. You lesbians, you hardened, diamond forehead lesbians will say, I'll go get artificial insemination. It can be of a black person. That is an abomination. At the end of the day, you will go against God. You will go against God because of your stubbornness and because of your inability to fear in belief. Listen, all I'm doing, I'm out of here. I love y'all as much as y'all hate me. I done got nothing. The truth be told, man, I may go through some points of fury and some points where I black out. But at the end of the day, I do love my brothers and sisters. I really wish that we could get it together. This is part one. Part two, I'm going to go into something else, but it's still going to be a threat. It's still going to be about the nucleus family, the nuclear family. I wanted to just cover. This is just the beginning of the series. I wanted to just cover polygamy because many of you are so childish and you think that you can just jump right into polygamy. And then your polygamy situation lasts for 3 or 4 weeks, 4 to 6 months if you're lucky. You had all the fun, you drunk all the booze, you smoked all the reefer, you didn't tore up all the holes of the women, right? You done went in all the women's holes. You done had all the time of your life, right? You done had them kiss each other and carpet munch one another. You'd have had a field day because you were so immature and so not understanding that polygamy is far greater than sex than something sexual. All right? I know, I know y'all hate me, man. I'm just trying to do what I do best. All right, shalom.